Episode 24, Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. I'm Gary Ray. My goodness, if you like baseball and hockey, you've come to the right spot. Team Canada loses 5-3 in the quarterfinals to us in the World Baseball Classic. St. Catharines Falcons beat the Ayr Centennials in Game 1. The Pelham Panthers beat Port Colborne Sailors in Game 1. The Cambridge Redhawks beat the Caledonia Corvairs in Game 1. Fort Erie Meteors beat the Brantford Titans in their Game 1 matchup. The Stratford Warriors split the first two games versus the London Nationals. The St. Mary's Lincolns split their first two games versus the Strathroy Rockets. The Elmira Sugar Kings beat LaSalle Vipers in their Game 1 matchup. And in Chew on That, Dave Graff's going to be taking us back into a time warp. All that and more on episode 24 of Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.
6 guys, 3 sports, no leash. This is the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast. Football, hockey, and baseball, the way it's meant to be. Loud, raw, and completely unfiltered.
All right, we're coming at you with the Sunday morning edition due to Game 3 with Stratford and London. Also, Game 3, we got St. Mary's and the Strathroy Rockets on Monday night. So we're coming to you Sunday morning here. We got Ian Shank and Brian Hawley. Boys, how are you this morning?
Not too bad on this
good.
Wintry day again.
Yeah, beautiful day. Not like the 12 degrees we had there last week. We want to hear from our sponsors first, and then we'll get into trending.
This trending segment brought to you by Best Western Plus Arden Park Hotel, located at 552 Ontario Street, Stratford. Located steps from the Festival Theatre, while offering first-class accommodations with an extensive range of services, including conference center, banquet facilities, and heated indoor pool.
Okay, the big game there Friday night while we were at the rinks was Canada and U.S. playing in the quarterfinals of the World Baseball Classic. Canada had never advanced to the quarterfinals before, so it was quite an exciting game. 5-3 loss against the Americans in Houston. We'll start with you, Shanker. Starting pitcher for the Americans, Logan Webb, 4 2/3 scoreless innings with 5 Ks. What all did you see in that series?
Well, you guys remember that game at the fair with the bowling ball where you push the bowling ball down, it has to get over that hump to win? I feel this is Canada on Friday night. They get to the top and they just fall right back down. Interesting, the start of the game, Naylor came up to the plate and wanted to fist bump Cal Raleigh, and Raleigh shrugged him off again. So that's 2 teammates now he's shrugged off. And Halter touched on it before. Just take your bat, touch his shin pads, the shin guards. That's all you got to do.
Well, did you see Naylor, though? He said he had texted Raleigh before saying, hey, man,
okay.
I'm going for the fist bump. And Raleigh said to him, please don't do that. So Naylor was having fun with him. So he wasn't expecting a response the way Arezarena was.
Well, besides that, the ball game was actually a good game up until the 7th inning when Canada had 2 guys, runners in scoring position with none out. And you have your 3-4 hitters coming up, and you get a pop-up, a strikeout, and then the next guy, Casey, strikes out. The U.S. was playing back, allowing Canada, hey, just hit a ground ball to us. We'll let you score the run to get within 1. We'll take the out. But no, they couldn't. They couldn't even put a ball in play. My biggest thing with Canada is you had Josh Naylor go 0 for 4, and he only batted .200 throughout the whole series, and O'Neill batted .167, which is crazy for major league hitters against the teams they played. Like when your best hitter is Owen Casey, you got to reevaluate things.
Halzer, what did you think about that game?
Well, the one thing that was really impressing me was the pitch selection on the 3-1 count to Josh Naylor. He's down 3-1, and Josh Naylor is obviously sitting dead red. And David Bednar threw him a changeup that started just above the knees and dropped down. What a fantastic pitch. And, the color commentator made the point that I have made for years in baseball, that when you throw a good changeup, it makes your fastball faster. So, Bednar isn't a top velo guy. His fastball is about 94, 95. But when you follow that up, like when you throw a changeup first in the location that he did, it was a great pitch selection and it was perfect location. And that got him, if Naylor can lay off that, but he's sitting dead red looking for a low fastball and he thought he got it and swung over top of it. Then he made a nice pitch to jam him on the hands, and it's just a little humpback back to third base. The one that really got me upset was O'Neill, though. To Shanker's point, you got to put that ball in play, dude. And that's something that I have preached for years. When you've got runners in scoring position and less than 2 out, I don't care if you jump in front of the goddamn thing. Put the ball in play. You're right, Shanker. They were back. They're saying, we're willing to give you the 5-4 run. But the other thing, too, that really disappointed me was Canada's defense. Otto Lopez at third base. I like him as a leadoff hitter, but he was a train wreck at third base. He made a couple of bad plays. The difference in the game was the 2 runs that he cost by overthrowing first base. Bases loaded, 2 out. Made a beautiful diving stab to pick the ball, and then just threw it over the first baseman's head, and that cost them 2 runs, and that was the difference in the ball game, really.
Do you think Halzer, like it's easy for us armchair GMs to look back at things, but you're a high level manager in baseball. When you've got Josh Naylor and Tyler O'Neill up to bat, do you think for the surprise, like Shanker even said it, the Americans are playing back, so they're conceding 1 run. It would only have made it 5-4. Do you not think that they should have bunted?
No,
at least one of them. You want them swinging, do you?
If you're going to bunt them, then take them out of the 3-4 hole. Those are your production guys. Those guys are there that are professional RBI guys. You think about a Joe Carter. His career average is about 260. Not impressive, but he got 100 RBIs every year. And the reason he got 100 RBIs every year is because when he was up with a runner in scoring position and less than 2 out, he brought that runner home, whether it was a ground ball to second base, a sacrifice fly, a home run, a hit, whatever. He brought the runs in. That's your job. That's why you put these guys in the 3 and 4 hole hitters. O'Neill's their best hitter by a long shot, as far as I'm concerned. And that is exactly the situation you want. So I was actually surprised that they, I would have considered walking one of them to get the force play on, but they seemed prepared to give up that 4th run, knowing they got Mason Miller in the 9th inning, and he came in and did what he does because he's 102 miles an hour. So at the end of the day, no. The long answer I gave you, the short answer is no. You're the 3 or 4 hole hitters. Hit the ball, produce runs. That's what you're there for.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, just speaking of Mason Miller, he came on in the 9th. All he did with his flame throwing is strike out Young on an inside pitch that wasn't in the box.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That pissed me off, man. That really pissed me off.
Yeah, exactly.
That ball was clearly an inch or 2 inside, and he rung him up. Who was pitching for Canada? That lefty tugboat who might have got a call on 3-0.
Wilkinson.
In the top of the inning. Yeah.
Wilkinson.
They call him Tugboat. I love this guy. I got to give him a shout out. Threw him 2 innings shutout as a lefty with all that beef that the U.S. had in their order. He got a 3-0 pitch that was outside that the umpire gave him, but it's a far cry from giving a guy a 3-0 pitch a little bit off the plate than to ringing a guy up on a 3-2.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was just disgusted by that call. It was a total even up call, and I thought it was a joke.
I'll tell you, Thank God there's pitch counts, because Logan Webb, he was cruising through 4 innings.
Wasn't he dynamite? Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
5 Ks. Like, his ERA is only 1.04 through 2 games.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he was tough. Yeah, Miller strikes out Young on the inside pitch, like we said. He strikes out Julian, and then he struck out Lopez to end the game. So hats off to the Americans. Hate to say it, but they seem to have our number lately. We got them there at the Four Nations last year, but they got us in the Olympics, and they got us at the World Baseball Classic. So
I gotta say, Razor, I hate that narrative. I really do. I mean, the U.S. ladies hockey team was the best team in the world, and they won because they should have won. The Canadian men's hockey team is the best in the world, and they didn't win because of circumstances beyond their control. But this is a different animal altogether. This is like comparing. This is like being upset that Canada lost to USA in basketball. I mean, like this is their thing. Like this is their sport. For us to beat them would have been shoving it up their ass. And what I saw the next morning was Fox posting this picture of a bald eagle sitting on top of a bottle of maple syrup and just throwing it in the faces of Canadians that, hey, we beat you at baseball. Yeah, no kidding, dude.
you should.
Just like we kick your asses at curling. It's because what we do and you don't. And I mean, it was a great tournament for Canada. They had never advanced to the quarterfinals before. And there were players that didn't play, that weren't interested in playing. They came within one win of qualifying for the Olympics. I thought they had a fantastic tournament. I thought if they can show up with that same gritty attitude, I love this team. Up and down the lineup, they grind out at bats. They make you throw extra pitches. It was beautiful to watch. Then they go out in the field and throw it around like they did against Panama. But at the end of the day, I thought they showed themselves well. And the fact that they lost to the Americans just sets up an absolutely titanic battle Sunday night in the semifinals of the DR against the U.S.
Yeah, that'll be a good one.
And you've got one of the best lineups that you could possibly put together in the DR, going against Paul Skeens and his 100+ and wipeout slider. I think it's going to be fantastic. And I'm not going to lie, though. I'll be totally cheering for the DR. If no other reason than Flatty.
I agree.
All right, boys, we got to move on to the East and the GOHL. We'll start with the St. Catharines Falcons beating the Air Centennials in Game 1. St. Catharines outshot Air 47-24. Winning goalie Cole Scullion stopped 22 of 24. Losing goalie Cruz Resnick stopped 41 of 47. I don't know if you guys saw the highlights there on 519, but my goodness, the Falcons are just looking like a well-oiled machine, racking up 6 in their first game against Air. Halser, I'll start with you on this one. What did you think of this game?
It kind of went as per plan. I would think they're a big, heavy team to play against. They're strong defensively. They're really good on the power play. They have good goaltending. That Mustafa kid is quite a dynamic player. I watched him in Air last year. And he wasn't the star of the show last year, but he is one of the stars of that team this year. And he's a fantastic player. And you know, we all knew St. Catharines, they have a tradition and a history of winning in the playoffs. They have the most Greater Niagara, whatever that old conference was, the Niagara Conference. They had like 16 or 17 titles from there. Yeah. So this is game 1 of an odyssey that they're a team that's expecting to go very, very deep.
Shanker,
13 players were in on the scoring for St. Catharines.
Yeah, well distributed. Yeah. Okay, let's go over to Pelham and Port Colborne. You guys called it. These two teams hate each other. Pelham wins their game 1 matchup 3-2 in Pelham. Pelham outshoots Port Colborne 35-31. Winning goalie Logan Snyder stops 29 of 31. Losing goalie Stephen Amaro stops 32 of 35. I was looking at the penalties. Pelham's Evan Gaudry had a head contact in the first. Pelham's goalie Logan Snyder had a roughing, and so Port Colborne must have been bugging him in the crease. And then you had Colton D'Amico and Jack Havers going at it for roughing. So you guys hit the nail on the head that these two teams don't like each other. Just really looks like that's going to be an entertaining series. If anyone's bored, that would be a game that I would definitely have on my radar to go down for that series. That's for sure. But Shanker, we'll start with you. What have you seen in the box score that caught your eye?
Well, I watched it on Friday night, and what stands out to me is only 28 minutes in penalties. That's the big thing compared to the last few games. And if you want entertaining hockey, that would have been a great game to be at. No scoring in the first period, but what a way to start the second period. You had a shorthanded goal, then a penalty shot goal, and then a power play goal, all within the first 10 minutes of the second period.
Yeah.
So, like, to me, like, it's an entertaining series.
Halser?
I had this as possibly the best series of the first round. And it's a shame they're both so far away from my house. I would love to go see one or two of those games live on the nights that the local teams aren't playing. But I think it fits the narrative of what Pelham is, 20 minutes in penalties and only 2 goals against. A reminder to everybody that they were top 5 in goals against in the GO, and they led the league in penalty minutes. So, the game fits the narrative with Pelham. Spend 20 minutes in the box and still manage to have a 3-2 win. So we'll see how the game tonight goes. But I think this is exactly what we were expecting to start the series. Pelham,
yeah, they get the first 2 games somehow.
Quirky scheduling.
Yeah,
them and Elmira LaSalle. Elmira got the first 2 home games, and then they move it to LaSalle. Let's talk about Cambridge and Caledonia. Cambridge Redhawks take down the Caledonia Corvairs in their Game 1 matchup in Cambridge. 5-2. Cambridge outshoots Caledonia 38-16. Stratford's own Aiden Hill got the win, stopping 14 of 16 shots. Losing goaltender Jacob Gibbons stopped 33 of 38. Looks like the Redhawks are another team that, they were in the number 1 ranked team all along. Halser, I'll start with you. What did you take of the highlights in the box score?
Well, the one thing I love about playoffs is it makes for unsung heroes. Riker Young, who had, I think, 3 goals in the regular season, had 2 goals last night in the second period alone. He's a defenseman, by the way, so you don't expect a lot of goals out of players on the back end, but that's what happens in playoffs. Guys that don't get a lot of goals in regular season sometimes just show up and have huge games. So a big shout out to Riker Young on his 2 goals last night.
Shanker, what did you notice?
Well, I touched on it last week about these 2 teams had the highest penalty minutes in the East, and it lived up to its expectations last night. You had a slew footing penalty for Caledonia, and then at 17:53 of the third, it was one of those line things where the referee just kicks everybody off the ice. But, like, again, Caledonia 0 for 5 on the power play, and Cambridge was 1 for 6 on the power play. You're not going to compete against a top team when you go 0 for 5 on the power play. And there was also a penalty shot in this game.
Yeah.
So that's 2 penalty shots in the playoffs, Cambridge and Pelham. There's been 3 shorthanded goals so far in the last 2 days, 2 for London and 1 for Pelham. So it's a very strange but great start to the playoffs.
Yeah, speaking of that penalty shot, it looks like Caledon's Braden Hobson took a slashing major, and that was his 3rd stick infraction, so he ended up getting a game out of that.
Yeah.
And then Cambridge's Callan Newton scored on the penalty shot to put Cambridge up 5-1, and then Caledon, with 1 second left in the game, Gage Butcher got a garbage goal to make it 5-2. So, okay. One last series to talk about before we jump into buzzing. Fort Erie Meteors take down the Brantford Titans in their first game. Winning goalie was Raphael Tremblay. He stops 25 of 26. James Gall stops 35 of 38 in Fort Erie's 3-1 win. We'll start with you, Halzer. What did you think of this box score due to no video being available?
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I really want to see Fort Erie play, but it is just par for the course for Fort Erie, where they play it really tight. They're an extremely difficult team to play against, extremely difficult to score on. Even though they lost their top goalie, they showed up with another top goalie. The young Adamo, Danny Adamo, the younger of the two brothers, scored in the first period as well. He was a stud for them all year long. So, that's exactly what you expect out of Fort Erie, a 3-1 win. They're not going to usually come out and blow a team out. They'll score a few goals, but at the end of the day, that's, if it wouldn't surprise me if Brantford had 10 goals or less in this series, because Fort Erie is just that hard to score on.
Schenker, what do you make of this box score?
When I first checked it last night, I thought, it's already 2-0 Fort Erie. They came out flying quick, but then Brantford seemed to settle them down a bit, and it was only 2-1 after the second period.
Mm-hmm.
So it seemed like Brantford was just trying to ease her, I don't know, maybe sleepwalked into the game and settled her down a bit. But yeah, I agree with Halzer. It's going to be a sweep. So hopefully Brantford makes a game of every game.
Yeah, penalty-wise, this one was pretty tame compared to the Caledonia, Cambridge, and Pelham, Port Colborne series. So that it doesn't look like after their first game that there's going to be any craziness like the possibility of the other two series. So, okay, well, that's our East roundup as we speak. Let's hear from our sponsors with Nick Hishin, Indy Mortgages, and we'll be right back with Jason Clark in Buzzin' with Clarko.
Buzzin' with Clarko, a weekly roundup of the Stratford Warriors with Jason Clark, brought to you by Nick Hishin of Indy Mortgage, the independent mortgage company serving customers from coast to coast with access to well over 50 lending options available. Give Nick a call as he works for you, not the banks. FISRA license number 12403.
Yes, Guy. How's Clarky this morning?
I'm good. Good morning. Yeah, still battling this cold.
Yeah, everyone's got the deep voices. So
yeah,
I was telling our fans that this is an early Sunday morning show due to Monday night's games with Stratford and St. Mary's.
I wish I could say I was out rocking at Rumors till 3 a.m. last night, but
right,
no.
Celebrating the Game 2 win, just like the old days.
Yeah, exactly. It was a drive home and watching Venezuela, Japan play baseball. That was the big night last night.
Right. Yeah. Well, Schenker and I were talking. We both went to bed and Japan was up, and then you wake up this morning seeing that Venezuela came back and won it. So
it was an exciting game.
What a great game that was, man.
It was. Yeah, it really was.
Yeah. So talk about a tale of two teams, Clarky, from Friday night to last night. We'll start with Friday night at the Allman Arena. You guys have the London Nationals in town. Game 1 of your first round matchup. You lose 5-2. Bender takes the loss, stopping 32 of 37. Winning goalie Dante Bertolin stops 34 of 36. Take us through what you saw Friday night at the Allman.
Yeah, I think kind of the opposite of what I talked about here last week. I talked about tight checking and slowing them down, especially in our building, et cetera. And, what we've seen through 2 games is, I would say, higher scoring games in both games. And, I thought we did a better job at slowing them down probably last night on the big ice. So Friday night, I didn't think it was. I thought the game was good. I mean, it was a good playoff game. We had a fight, and we gave up a short-handed power play goal to start.
Yeah,
and, which seems to be a current theme in this series when we get to tomorrow night. But on that same power play, we were able to come right back and score. Don Marshall driving the net, real good at play off the entry, and he got it tied back up 1-1. So after the first period, 1-1, I think we were feeling pretty good about ourselves of first game of the playoffs. And then the second period was kind of back and forth. I thought teams traded chances. He came down. He scored 2 goals within 30 seconds.
Lipinski,
yes. So come down, real nice shot, beat Bender on the glove side. One of those ones that's just over the pad by his glove, coming down off the wing off the rush, and then as a trailer, right? They came down on 3-on-2, and the puck came across the ice of the trailing guy, and he caught the puck in a real good area and scored to make it 3-1. And the hole starting to get pretty deep, down 2 goals against anybody in this league. But we were able to come back, and Cohen Galbraith, real nice, just getting a puck on net. Bit of a scramble net front, but he got the stick on puck and beat Bertolo in there to make it 3-2 after 2. So again, going in to the dressing room feeling pretty good about the last 20 minutes to try and get it tied up here. And then we just never connected for anything in the third period. And they continued to come at us and bang 2 more in, and that's the night, 5-1. So, you never want to lose game 1 at home. But I thought we were okay. And I talked last week, Shanker, you asked me, Schmitty and Slats were ready for game 1. And then we had 2 more events between the time we taped the show and Friday night, and neither one of them dressed. So, big hole for us up front, not having those guys driving up and down the ice and shooting pucks as well. So, we missed those guys, but credit to our group, got right back on the horse yesterday, and we were really, really good in London. I would say we played a game like we played in Chatham in the last game of the series last night.
It's a good thing that these kids have short memories, because you can look at it 2 ways from Friday night. You can look deflated that, my God, we were with them and we let it get away, and they chose the better route to just forget about what happened, went into London, like you said, on that bigger ice, and were able to turn their mindset around. And I was looking at the highlights there of last night on 519, and I thought there was a turning point. We'll get to that in a second. But speaking about last night's game, you guys win 4-1. Bender gets the win, stops 25 of 26. Bertolin takes the loss, stopping 27 of 30. And like you said, you guys give up a shorty in the first period again. That didn't stop you, though. That kind of seemed to energize you guys, because then all of a sudden in the second period, you get Murphy on a great stretch pass from Curtin from his goal line. Murphy was at their blue line, and Curtin gave it to him from your goal line, which was unbelievable. But take us through last night and the tale of 2 games.
Yeah, the old sneak attack for Murph for the long bomb there. The first period was interesting, really. It was about 6-7 minutes left to go, and the shots were like 3-2 or 4-2, right? It was a game that was really played kind of back and forth in the neutral zone, and nobody really had given up too much. And then we got a power play late, and a turnover at our own blue line. Guy had a breakaway in and beat Noah for them to go up 1-0. So frustrating again, as a fan, and I'm sure for the guys on the bench, right, to turn over a puck and give up another shorthanded goal. Typically something that we never do or don't like to do. Obviously, nobody does. And so 1-0 after the first period, after kind of a back and forth, not much going on. And then the second period, I thought we really picked up our pace of play and pushed a lot harder. And beautiful stretch pass from Curtin to Murphy in all alone, and ripped the puck over the glove of Bertolin there for the first goal. Very shortly after that, Reese Brown wins a puck right back to Luke Menard, who I know Menard we've talked about a number of times this season, how kind of sneaky he is with the puck, right? And real good one move around a player and a quick shot.
Doc Stater.
Yeah, really good play there and a great shot to put us up. And then not too long after that either, Jackson Broda joined the rush and came in and got a puck net front to bury that to get us up 3-1 heading into the third period. And I thought we did a real good job of shutting it down in the third period. We took 4 straight penalties, I believe, 3 or 4 straight penalties. And so the group did a really good job of getting in lanes and blocking shots and battling hard. And Noah stood real tall in the net for us when pucks did get through. And I think we really frustrated London. How much they would like to wheel and deal, and we got in their lanes and slowed them down. So I think we did a real good job there. And then Reese Brown, empty netter, as they had the goalie pulled in the last minute, trying to put the push on here. So all in all, great effort from top to bottom. for the entire group. And Shanker, you called that line or that group of guys. I think we talked about it on Sunday there. We talked about, I do believe we have depth scoring throughout our lineup, and guys can chip in whenever they get an opportunity, and that's who I think we've seen score for us in the first couple games here. Everybody is going really hard, and Murphy, Marshall, Galbraith, Brownie, they've all been really, really good for us. I go through the entire lineup. I think everybody's been real strong through the first two games. We couldn't find goals Friday night, but we were rewarded last night for all the hard work that they've done. So great effort by everybody. Galbraith got in a scrap last night, and Haylock got in a scrap Friday night, and Greener had a couple big hits last night, and Broda was that big ice. He was just dancing last night. Lots of room for him to roam out there too. So, real good group. I think last night Willie had Ferguson, Kipfer, and Wildfong as a line. So tons of speed for those guys ripping up and down the ice, and a lot of skill there too. So yeah, things look okay. But I think it's going to be like we talked about. It's going to be a long series, 6 or 7 games, and we just got to stick with it and try and do some similar things we did last night, tomorrow night, back on the small ice in Stratford, and see what happens.
Well, speaking of Galbraith fighting, I'll take it back. You guys are at 1-1. You're in the second period. I thought this was the turning point of the whole game, Clarkie, where Bailey Reed from London, he had no reason. Now, it wasn't a vicious board, but he boards Murphy, and that's why Galbraith came in to defend his teammate. He gets into it with Bailey Reed. That puts you guys on the power play. And then that's where you were saying about Menard, where he curl and dragged right off the face-off that Brownie won. He curl and drags around Dockstader, and then he used Love as a screen. And I don't know if you guys have ever heard me talk about it before, but he used Love as the screen, and Bertolin had no chance. It was right at the hash marks. Like, it was a beautiful goal. And I thought that penalty that Bailey Reed took just changed everything, because now you guys are up 2-1. You've got all the momentum. And then that's when Broda, you had mentioned, he made a great play. He was part of the breakup in your end, and he joined the rush. And after Bertolin made that save on Murphy, he was in all alone for the rebound on Bertolin and ended up scoring and putting you guys up 3-1. And so just those two individual plays made such a difference in a turn of events. And now you guys are coming home for game 3 Monday night with a little bit of jump in your step, going, you know what, we're not as bad as everybody may think we were after Friday night. And so it was nice to see. But Shanker, I'll start with you. What did you see from the highlights and the 2 games?
I just thought it was a huge win last night, a good comeback win to go in there and win on that big ice. And it's like I alluded to before, everybody stepped up these first 2 games, either with an assist or a goal, to get everybody to keep London on their heels where they can't defend a certain line, which I think is really huge for Stratford going forward.
Halser, were you able to catch any highlights? I know you've been watching the links, but
well, I mean, you got to give a big shout out to Stratford. That second period was a series changer. Yeah. London looked like they were kind of full of themselves. They're up 1-0. They're at home. They get the first goal, another shorty. And then I believe it was 3 goals in 6 minutes for Stratford after that unbelievable pass from Curtin. The power play goal, and then score again a minute later afterwards. Outshoot them 17-7 in the second period. That was a character series changing period by Stratford in the second period. If London, think about it, if London gets the first goal of the second period, I was watching socials and the naysayers were out already in Stratford after game 1 about how bad they were and should they change goalies and this could be a sweep. And, people forget this is junior hockey and momentum is only as good as your last shift sometimes. And so I thought the pass by Curtin and the finish by my old boy Grady Murphy there, I thought that turned the series. It put London back on their heels. They kind of fell asleep for a few minutes and Stratford jumped all over them. So really, really big shout out to the character of the room to be able to turn that series around. Good job.
Yeah, they were great last night, Halser. I couldn't agree anymore with your comments there. And as we all know, Murph from town here, he was a fireball last night again. So he's a real inspiration to even guys in the crowd and talking. BG head coach Dennis Williams was at the game last night, and so I stood with Denny for the second and third period, and he picked out Murph as well, talking about that guy's got a lot of energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's some nights our toughest kid. For
That
sure.
whole line does too, right? I love that line.
Yeah,
I think it's your best line. I'll be honest with you.
it.
It's Brown at center, right? With Marshall and is that still a line?
Yeah, Brown's been playing there lately. Sometimes Galbraith comes back with them too, but yeah, they've been great for us all season long. Right? They've been really, really good. I remember talking about them the first couple episodes of this podcast. Right? Once we got going, I think they scored early. Murph had a couple goals in a couple games, and Marsh as well, and Cohen just doing everything right, and Brownie's just as solid day as the day is. So the guy's been real good.
Yeah, guys like Marshall and Murphy, they play way bigger than they are. We love that about them.
For sure.
Yeah, and being local boys, it brings family and friends into the different rinks as well, traveling on the road and obviously at the Almonds. So shout out to the local boys pumping energy at a really important time in the series. So
hey, maybe we can send this that game to the Leafs, showing them how to stick up for your teammates.
Yeah,
it was a different story last night in Buffalo. They've been reading about it nonstop since they've been called out in the press. So, but yeah, great to see Clarkie, and really look forward to Monday night's Game 3 tilt. Yep. And wish you guys the best of luck, and hope to see a W on the board there after Monday night, brother.
Okay. Thanks a lot, boys. Have a great day.
Right.
And enjoy your week.
Yep,
you as well. All right. Jason Clark, Director of Hockey Operations with the Stratford Warriors. We'll hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back with Chris Chessel and Chester's Perch.
You can't put a price on a good time. Chester's Perch, the Lincoln's Report, brought to you by the Boathouse Stratford, located at 30 York Street. Come see us down at the Avon River for pedal boats, kayaks, canoes, Juliet boat tours, and bike rentals. Enjoy great food and ice cream at the Riverside Patio Restaurant. Pet friendly and operated by the Herr family since 1965.
Chester's in the house. How are you, brother?
Good morning, boys. Nothing like a coffee and some fireside chat to start the Sunday.
Right? Is that a Lincoln's mug?
No.
Oh, okay.
If it were a Lincoln mug, it'd have beer in it.
Or it might have got smashed against the wall, too. I'm not sure.
Well, we just got done talking with Clarkie about the Warriors being a tale of two teams. The same thing can be said about the St. Mary's Lincolns. You guys end up getting off to a great start Friday night against the Strathroy Rockets. You take them down 5-2. And then last night was a different story. But let's start with Friday night at the PRC Center. You outshoot the Rockets 40-23. Booth Houseco gets the win, stopped 21 of 23. And losing goalie Seth Ronan stops 35 of 39. I thought both goalies played great on Friday night, even though Ronan let in 5. The fifth one was an empty netter. But I thought both goalies played really well. Chef, take us through what you saw Friday night at the PRC.
Yeah, I would agree with you there, Razor. Kobe wasn't crazy busy, but he made a couple key stops when the game was really tight still. So, yeah, I thought, honestly, for the last 6 to 8 weeks, we've had some issues with consistency, putting 3 really good periods together. But I thought we saw a much different team Friday night. We came out flying in the first period. We were physical, dominated them for probably 7-8 minutes, maybe a bit more. And, typical hockey, you don't get one with all that shots after shot after shot. Puck possession was fantastic. And he didn't get one. Ronan stood on his head really early as well. And then, of course, they came down and got one. And you're just like, oh, here we go. Right. But yeah, I thought all in all, a really good game, and the boys just kept coming, even though Gavin White got them on the board there about halfway through the period. The boys just kept coming, and just a really good 60 minutes of hockey. Probably, one of the better efforts completely. They had a really good game against Elmira the week earlier where they put together pretty much 60 minutes, and this was a repeat of that. And Strathroy, those kids can play. We've talked about them for a number of weeks here, and they're one of the hottest teams coming in here. So they're playing really well, right? And we were able to get on the board before the end of the first. Weirzy got one, knocked in a rebound, I believe, in front, and kind of really swung the momentum. I thought the whole PRC, a lot of energy to start the game, and then I thought once Strathroy got on the board, it got a bit quiet in there for a few minutes. I think people were thinking the same thing we all were. Like, oh, are you kidding me? We dominate. They get one, and here we go. But that goal by Weird before the end of the period was big. And
on the power play.
Yeah, that was big too. That power play success was continuing on Friday night for sure. Second period too, we outshot them. I think it was a little closer. Yeah, I think it was 12. Yeah, 12-12 in the second. And two good teams just going at it, and they just didn't give in a whole lot of real good chances. We did have a few where Ronan was fantastic again, but second period nobody got any goals, but we were still maintaining most of the pressure. I felt forecheck was really strong. Halser mentioned it last week that we thought that we could get in deep on their D a little bit and get some chances down low, and I thought we did a good job of that. I thought we did a really good job of getting guys in front of the net. Ronan's pretty good, and you got to get some bodies in front. You got to give yourself some sort of advantage against a guy like that. So I really like the way we played. And then in the third, we got two about halfway through the period, two within a minute and a half, I think. And that was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to say. The pressure was just there all night. Lots of quality shots, really good momentum. Strathroy got one. From
Jazuski.
About halfway through or so to make it 3-2. A little bit of nerves in the building, but another late power play goal by McCauley kind of sealed it, and then of course the empty netter by Vortman. So what I thought, really good hockey game. Like I said, pretty much 60 minutes of really good hockey. It was good to see. The physicality was there, all the stuff that has kind of been missing some nights. I thought they brought a really good, strong game to start the series, and I think that's the way you want to start it on home ice. That's the way to do it, and good win to start the series for sure. And I thought Kobe was strong, like you guys said. So.
Yeah, I was just watching the 519 highlights, and like I said at the beginning, I thought both Booth House go, like on that first goal by Gavin White, he made a big save, and then Gavin White just got the rebound on it, and Ronan made save after save, and he can only make so many. You had mentioned about getting bodies in front of the net. I thought Keen's goal was a great example of that, screenshot from the point. And that put you guys up 3-1. And then Jazuski had that tip-in backdoor pass, nice pass from Hull. That made it 3-2. But, we'll start with you, Halser. What did you see Friday night at the PRC?
Well, first off, what a great crowd. Almost 1,100 in the barn at the PRC, which is, by the way, Stratford, almost double what you guys showed up with. 588 on a Friday night. What the hell? It's playoffs, Stratford fans. Anyways, I've called you people out before. Don't make me do it again.
I think you just did.
I think I may have just done it again. I got to insert that filter. Anyways, I thought I saw what I thought I saw, and then I had a nice chat with Coach Bradley before game 2 last night, and he confirmed what I thought I saw, that they played a really good game from stem to stern. 60 minutes of good hockey. The first period was fantastic. I thought the second period was a win just because they didn't get scored on, because the second period has been a real problem for St. Mary's in the since Christmas, basically. And so the fact that they shot them even and didn't give up any goals, I thought that was a big win. And the go-ahead goal, like you could feel in the building, to Chess's point, Like it was like a really nervous energy. It was high energy, but it was a really nervous energy. And everybody in the building is like, we better get the next one because Ronan's playing really, really well. And then it was a gorgeous feed from Jack Clark across the middle to Lincoln Moore, who was, in my humble opinion, by far and away the best player on the ice in game one. The playoff Moose showed up and he was everywhere. They couldn't get the puck off him. He could stick handle in a phone booth. He was forechecking, big hits. What a great game he played, and he ended up scoring that second goal. Colby played great. Ronan, man, so tough. The goaltending was so tough. You kind of felt like it could have been a blowout, but at the same time, Strathroy is very responsible in their own end, taking backside checks away so rebounds can't go in, with the exception of the McCallum goal, obviously. But, you know, Strathroy's a tough out. They really are. And St. Mary's has been going to be drawn into a longer – we talked about this last week. They're going to be drawn into a longer series that they want because Strathroy is so disciplined. Shout out to Matt Bowes, the coach and his staff, for getting his team prepared. That 5-2 score belies how close that game really was.
Shanker, what did you see?
Again, I think St. Mary's played great Friday, but it's 2 games of missed opportunities. 2 for 4 on the power play Friday, and then 0 for 6 last night, which is a huge glaring stat. While Strathroy, they were 1 for 7 on the power play through both games. The Lincolns had 82 shots through 2 games. Not sure if that's totally accurate, but if so, that's a lot of rubber Ronan's seeing. And it's just the confidence in Ronan's just going to keep getting better and better if he's making all these saves. It's going to make St. Mary's very, very tough to get one past them.
Well, we had said that it was going to go deep series.
Yeah.
And let's get into Saturday night's game, Chess. You guys go down to Strathroy. You take it on the chin, 3-0. It looks like it was the Seth Ronan show there. I caught bits of it on Flow. You guys outshoot them 42-33. Booth Houseco takes the loss, stopping 30 of 33. And Ronan with the shutout, stopping all 42. And the Rock got off to a quick lead. Gavin White on the power play. And tell us what happened down in Strathroy last night.
Yeah, that quick goal definitely wasn't the start we wanted, but I thought we really did play well. And Halser and I were right beside each other all night, which was good. But yeah, the Lincolns, I thought, again, had a really strong start. Unfortunate power play goal early, but again, came out of the gates flying, and we had the puck in their zone for minutes and minutes and minutes on end. And yeah, Ronan played fantastic, but a lot of it was our own doing, right? And we've talked about this earlier in the season as well. You know, you have to take quality shots and you have to make the best of your opportunities. And, you know, I think Halser said it last night in the car ride, you know, the Rockets are changing their logo next year. And it's a good thing they are, because the one on Ronan's chest is worn right out. So that, you know, it was just, you know, we would get some really good scoring chances and we just couldn't find the right spot of the net to shoot at. And when we did, Ronan was fantastic. He had multiple glove saves, you know, that could have went the other way. He was sharp. You know, I didn't think we did a good job yesterday as we did Friday, as far as getting bodies in front of the net, until later in the game we started to, as we thought we got maybe playing a bit more desperate. We seemed to get more aggressive in the crease area, but I thought for the large majority of last night's game, we kept the puck to the sides too much, and we're taking, you know, not as good as shots. And a lot of credit goes to Strathroy for that too. Like Halser said, their defensive structure and discipline is second to none right now. You know, and we couldn't get anything juicy that we really needed. You know, we had 3 or 4 breakaways too, right? And, you know, guys who can score. And they were prime opportunities. And, you know, it wasn't like Ronan was standing on his head on those breakaways. We just hit him in the chest.
Yeah.
you know, we tried a quick move and he didn't bite. And so all the credit goes to Ronan for sure. He was fantastic. But I think a lot of our guys would like to they probably had a rough night sleeping last night, looking at some of their goal scoring opportunities that didn't go. But, you know, Strathroy, they kind of, after the first 8 or 9 minutes or 10 minutes where we really had puck possession, Strathroy responded, right? Game 2, home ice. That was the game. You have to respond. This is playoff hockey. You cannot go down 2-0. You cannot lose on home ice after giving up game 1. And that's exactly what the Rockets did. They started going midway through that first period. They got 2 really greasy goals where they were just sending guys to the net. Bodies in front, all kinds of stuff. The great forecheck by the Rockets. We were turning the puck over at times. We had a couple bad pinches that cost us. And that was the first period in a nutshell, right? Like, it was just back and forth. Like, we had a good start. They had a great finish. 3 goals. We're down 3-0 after the first. And it's like, okay. I went and talked to Spencer between the first and the second, and we were talking about a game that happened 2 years ago down there. We were down 4-0 in the playoffs to Strathroy, and we came back and won that game 8-5. So
wow,
we were just kind of joking back and forth about, we can give up one more and then we'll start the comeback. Well, it wasn't meant to be last night. And yeah, the second and third period was a lot more Strathroy. Like, Strathroy was they were flying last night, and in pretty much all facets of the game. They were physical, super physical. They were fast. They were winning the one-on-one battles in their own zone and on a forecheck in middle of the ice as well. And they were the better team overall last night, right? We did have some great glimpses, but they were the better team, and they deserved to win. And kudos to them, because it's a great response. You have to win. You have to respond after losing game 1, and that's what they did. And Stratford did the same thing. A little reverse on the home ice situation there, but Strathroy defended home ice, and I'll give them all the credit in the world. That was a great hockey game to watch. You know what? And that's a fun barn, right? It's not very big. You could only get maybe 600 people in there max. I think we had over 5 last night, and definitely about 250 was probably St. Mary's fans. And we were quiet, right? There wasn't much to cheer about
no,
after the first few opportunities. So, we talked about it. It's going to be a long series. We talked a little bit about LeBlanc and Ritson quite a bit as well. Ritson's been great, but LeBlanc, he played game 1. I didn't think he looked like his normal self in game 1, but he put in a really good effort. In game 1, he had a great shot too from the high slot that rang the post that could have changed the game at the time, would have tied her up at 2. But last night I thought he was going to go. He was in warm up and everything, but once the game started, we didn't see him after that. So obviously he's nursing something here, but I'm sure he'll play into this series before it's all over and done with, I'm sure.
That's Strathroy playing mind games with you, Chester. Send them out, get everybody worried and pissed off.
I wouldn't read too much into that. I think he probably felt he was good to go, and then maybe during warm up he just wasn't quite there. So, you can do mind games all you want. At the end of the day, once that buzzer goes, once the puck gets dropped to start the game, these kids they got to go out and play hard, and doesn't matter who's in net. It doesn't matter. It's going to be a great series. Looking forward to the rest of it.
Yeah, he is such a huge loss for the Rockets when he can't go, and he's such a gamer. Just looking at highlights of him, and Halser had talked about it on previous podcasts. He mans the right point, being a left-hand shot on that power play, so that is a huge loss for the Rockets. We'll have to wait and see if he's good to go tomorrow night in St. Mary's. But Halser, what did you see last night standing beside Chess?
Well, there was a striking similarity to game 2 in Strathroy as to game 2 in London, in the fact that Strathroy scored 3 goals. Stratford scored 3 goals in 6 minutes. Strathroy scored 3 goals in about 10 minutes in the first period and then rode it home. The biggest single difference, I thought, between game 1 and game 2 was, as alluded to by Chess, was the one-on-one battles, puck battles. I thought St. Mary's won probably 80%, anyway, the lion's share of the puck battles in game 1, and Strathroy turned the script around on that one. 42 shots. I mean, Ronan, my goodness. They had 40 shots in game 1 and scored 4 on them. They had 42 shots in game 2 and got none. Now, it should be noted, a lot of those shots were not what you would call point blank or dangerous shots. There were a lot of shots from the point where no one was in front, and they just kept going at Ronan's glove hand. And he reminds me of a couple of goalies I've seen in the past where they will kind of shade a little bit to their blocker side and then double dog dare you to shoot glove side and then just rip it out anyways. And he seemed like he was baiting them into glove side, and St. Mary's was falling for it. And he's got this little, I don't know if it's a nervous tick or if it's a habit or whatever. He catches it, and a lot of times he'll just hold the puck up like this, like to show the ref or something like that. And I'm sure it's just, I don't think he does it even consciously, but we saw him. I mean, he's going to have his shoulder worked on, not because of all the saves, but all the times he was holding the puck over his head. So he was amazing. Their defensive zone coverage was impeccable last night. Having said all that, like I said, the first 8 minutes of the second period was one-way traffic. Ronan was absolutely under siege. It was at the opposite end of us, and the Sheen was still on the ice about 7 minutes into the period. It was just down there all the time. St. Mary's couldn't get a puck past Ronan, whether they had missed out on opportunities with the poor shot or good defensive zone coverage or what have you, or a good save by the goaltender. So it just, having said all that, they didn't have any puck luck either. There was a spot in the third period early on where they were on the power play. Moore walked around his checker, found McQueen Spence across ice, put the puck right on his stick with a wide open net to shoot, and the puck just bounced off his stick. It was little things like that where on a sharper night, I'm not sure St. Mary's wins that game, but it certainly wasn't a situation where I felt like Ronan would have got a shutout if St. Mary's was sharper finish-wise. So that's something they're going to have to work on. I don't know exactly how you work on that, but they need to finish better when they get those opportunities, because Ronan isn't going to give them anything, and do a better job of getting bodies in front of the net. And Shanker made the point. It was, I think we worked out to 16 out of 23 or something ridiculous stretch on the power play, and then to go 0-6 last night. And part of it was poor breakouts, and part of it was poor entries, and part of it was, good defensive play by the Rockets, and part of it was Ronan. So, it was a great win for Strathroy last night. And I just want to quickly shout out their head coach, Matt Bowes. I was walking through the rink last night during warmups, and after I had talked to Coach Bradley, I was walking upstairs to go to my spot, and I walked past and I noticed their head coaches standing there, and they kind of did a double take with me, and I got halfway up the stairs. I went, kind of looked like they recognized me. So why not? So I turned around and went back downstairs and introduced myself. Before I got a word out, it's like, we know who you are. We love the show. So a shout out to Matt Bowes and the coaching staff out at Strathroy, friends of the show, and we sure appreciate their support.
Yes, we sure do. Their GM as well, Andrew Ferlot, he's been great with us, texting us and just appreciative of us mentioning the Rockets and all the guys on their team. And it's humbling. We've been reached out by a few different teams that watch the show, and the players obviously have taken a liking to hearing their names on the show. And so
and we want that feedback, right, Razor? We want any teams that are listening to this show, if you feel like we're shortchanging on the coverage, or if you're fact checking us, reach out to us, man. We want to talk. We love talking about the Go, and so reach out and let us know you're listening.
Yeah, we had a player on the Maroons fact check us and kind of gave us an insight as to a comment that we made about him at the trade deadline. And we really appreciate that stuff. Just DM us. Probably Instagram's probably the best one. One last thing about you had mentioned about Ronan and his glove halser. I was watching the highlight from Friday night, and he baited Lincoln Moore. And in the second period, so it was down at your end, and he just snared that right out of the air. Lincoln Moore got all of it too from the top of the circle. And
we're not used to seeing that. When Lincoln Moore gets time and space, generally those pucks get buried. And then I'd like to see him go a little lower on the blocker side above the pad.
Yeah.
Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Let's move it around and maybe stay away from that glove hand a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And then I also got to give a shout out to Ronan. I was telling Shanker before we got on the show, the 2-on-1. I think you guys had the power play, or no, you guys were shorthanded, and you guys went down 2-on-1 in the third period. And the pass came across, and Ronan slid across and made it a great save to preserve his shutout there late in the third period. But hot goalies hide a lot of flaws. So
Nothing scarier in playoffs than a hot goalie.
Exactly.
Chester, before you go, what seed are you giving the Tar Heels tonight?
I'm going to say they're a 6 seed.
6, nice.
Yeah. But you know what? It's unfortunate. It's going to be a short run. And you lose your best player.
Yeah.
It's tough to make a long run in this tournament. I think they'll be okay for the first game possibly, but I think after that it could be a short one. And you know what? That's okay. I mean,
hey, as long as Duke doesn't win, and they should have lost last night and they didn't.
Well, hey, who's done more with, or who's done less with more for the last 15 years? The Duke Blue Devils. So they can continue to be number 1 seed every year. It doesn't matter until you raise the banner. Then we'll talk.
Exactly.
All right, Chester. Well, best of luck tomorrow night at the PRC Game 3. You've got the Lincolns and Rockets tied at 1. We look forward to hearing how you guys make out Monday. And thanks for coming on as always, brother.
All right, boys. Have a good week. We'll talk to you soon.
Yep,
all right. Chris Chessel from Chester's Perch. Rhett Chessel normally would be up, but Halser's going to take over his segment. So we'll hear from our sponsors at Deal Sports Group, and we'll be back with Rhett's Roundup.
Rhett's Roundup, sponsored by Deal Sports Group, specializing in custom teamwear, uniforms, and apparel such as hockey, baseball, soccer, volleyball, basketball, and more. Our online stores are used mainly as a fundraising platform. We create custom designs for clothing and hard goods. They're purchased through the DSG website and shipped to the team organizer. A 20% kickback is given to the association or individual team. We also sell promotional corporate apparel and hard goods and offer many different decoration options that include embroidery, DTF prints, sublimation, twill, leather patched, and a lot more.
Okay, Halser's stepping in for Rhett Chessel this week, but we'll talk about the Elmira Sugar Kings and the LaSalle Vipers. Their game 1, Elmira takes them 4-1. They outshoot the Vipers 39-35. Liam Reed got the win, stop him 34 of 35. The losing goalie Jake Winbeal from the Vipers stops 35 of 39. Halser, what did you think of the 519 reviews and the box score on that game?
Well, I tell you what, when you handicap a series, you look at the more obvious trends and transitions or whatever. And I talked at fair length about the distance in between the two towns and how tough it was going to be for the road team to get their legs ready for a game. But I tell you what, LaSalle came out flying in the first period of this game and outshot Elmira 14-6 in the first period. And what a beautiful goal they scored. That Brocklehurst is a beauty, isn't he? Man, can he fly?
Oh,
yeah. He basically took on the whole team, flew around to the outside and found Costello in front of the net for the goal. And that was a beautiful goal. But apparently they poked the bear because Elmira came back. And frankly, for the last 40 minutes, it was by and large the Kyle Morey show. He was all over the highlights. I talked to a couple of people, said that he was absolutely everywhere, played one of his best games of the season, which is saying something for a guy who scored 86 points in a year. He made a phenomenal pass on, was it their first or second goal?
Their first one over to Gerber.
Over to Gerber. And of course, we all know Gerber. He doesn't make mistakes from that when he's got time and space in the slot, and he buried it. And then it was all Elmira from there. I think they outshot him about 35-20 in the last 2 periods. And the goal that they got was a power play goal, and then they shut him down on the power play after that. And Liam Reed getting him back from injury just in time for playoffs sure helps the confidence. So, like I say, a big shout out to Kyle Morey, who was an absolute monster in that game 1.
Yeah, Reed, speaking of him, he made 2 great saves moments before Gerber went down and tied it up 1-1. And they were saying on 519, Reed hadn't played since mid-February. So it's been
out a month, right?
So. Yeah, a month. So it's 1-1 after 1. Then Werlo puts Elmira up 2-1 in the second. And then just to ice it, then you had Robertson and Nutting get the 3rd and 4th goals for Elmira. Schenker, what did you see from the box score and the 519 highlights?
It's just like you said, LaSalle came out flying after that long bus trip. To take the early lead is what you want to do as a visiting team in the playoffs. But then Elmira, they woke up the beast, right? Elmira woke up and just took it to them the rest of the game. And I'm impressed with LaSalle, 35 shots on net. And hey, now my only concern is tonight's game for them. So you got to go back up to Elmira instead of having a home game on your home regular nights. And this is, I think, winner. If you don't win the night in Elmira, I would think you're pretty much done, because Elmira is not going to lose 2 in a row on the road. So I think LaSalle screwed this whole up with the scheduling. Like, I'm not sure of the arena scheduling and the conflicts they might have down there, but you can't have 2 road games in the playoffs to start.
Well, that's what they do in the NHL. And, I wonder, I may have to disagree, Shanker, because if they lose tonight, they're down 0-2 coming home.
Yep.
All they got to do is win 2 games and you're back in the series, but it's definitely not ideal. I think it's a worse situation for, say, the Rockets, like Chess had talked about. If they would have lost game 2 at home, now you got to go to St. Mary's on the road for game 3. Now you're really in a bind. It's almost a must-win situation, but I know what you're saying. But
well, I think LaSalle just wanted their home date on Wednesday, and they were prepared to play 2 on the road to make that happen, because that's their regular home date. They do play Sundays as well, but their go-to home date is a Wednesday night. And that's going to be a long drive home on a Wednesday night for Elmira, but that's the nature of the beast with the team you draw, right? So they
go tonight, Wednesday, then not again until Saturday. So I think this benefits Elmira big time.
Yeah, you're right, Shanker. There could be 2 or 3 series that are done before this series plays game 4.
Yeah, interesting. The only other series that we got on tap, they haven't started yet. You got the St. Thomas Stars, the number 8 seed, coming into Chatham Maroon, number 1 seed tonight. And so we don't have anything to report about that one, but we'll definitely keep our eyes and ears on that series as it goes forward. The other thing is we want to see is if Dylan Richter comes back. He's a huge factor into that. Not that they're probably going to need him with all their firepower, but definitely he is a huge asset to the Chatham Maroons, and his loss not playing is definitely felt by them. So
they'll need him at some point. There's too many good teams in the West to go through and play for the Southie without who last time I saw Dylan Richter was their best player.
Yeah, absolutely. He absolutely lit it up last year in the 7-game series against the Lincolns. And I thought by far he was Chatham's best player. Everything went around him. So,
and he was doing that kind of on one leg.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like he was hurt last year too. So it's a shame that such a good hockey player is so often injured, but let's hope he gets healthy and gets back in time for Chatham to go on another run.
Absolutely. All right, let's hear from our sponsors at work, and we'll be right back with Dave Graff and chew on that. He's got an interesting topic that we're going to talk about today. We're going to be talking about all-time great Culliton and Warriors due to the Warriors being in the playoffs at this time of year. So we'll hear from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Chew on that with Graffer. Brought to you by Work Pub and Eatery. Get a taste of tradition and charm in our family-run pub. From hearty dishes to cold drinks, we've got everything to make your visit memorable. Located at 75 Wellington Street, Stratford.
Yes, Guy. Look at that background on Graffer.
How are you guys this morning?
Good. How are you?
Good. Razor, you might be in there if I just move a little bit here.
I am. I see it. Yeah. That's when I had hair.
I was looking for the towel there, but you just
looking for the towel. Me too.
Yeah. No backup goalie towel for the team picture.
That's right. That's
just on the
exactly
bench.
it.
That a boy.
Well, it's good because I got my Stars jersey
go.
too. I texted the guys from St. Thomas and just wish them luck in the series. And we had mentioned on I don't know if you heard us or not, Graffer, but we've just been very blessed that teams have reached out to us that have listened to us on the show and given us compliments and stuff, and we really appreciate that. And I reached out to the guys from St. Thomas saying, like, I used to play for the Stars back in 86, 87 when we won the Southie in St. Thomas, myself and the other goalie, Anders Hogberg. Fantastic guy. Like, you want to talk about a guy with stories, my God, you just wind him up and let him go, and you could watch him forever. What's your topic for tonight?
Well, I was going to, as you just mentioned before the break, talk about the kind of the all-time greats because it does tie into the time of year, and with the Western playoffs taking place, kudos to Stratford last night. I know we're chiming in on the chat there to Clarkie. Well done to the boys to give up another shorty early and stick with it and get the solid W. So that should bode well coming back home on Monday night. And I think, are the Lynx tied now too? I didn't see the final.
Yeah, 1-1.
So
Strathroy won 3-0 last night.
Okay, so I seen it was 3-0 before I fell asleep for the night. But so good that they're at least neither of them are down 2-0 anyway, coming back home to try to get that third game. So that's good. Shout out to the Phillies and the Blue Jays too. Spring training time.
Yeah.
Balls, I'm sure you're the same. Can't wait for baseball.
It's almost time, baby. Almost time.
Yeah.
It's
another blast of this white stuff, eh? We can't wait for baseball. Right?
10 more sleeps, baby. 10 more sleeps. That's all right. We got a dome.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, and a very nice one. They've done a great job with that. So, I just wanted to go through before I was going to kind of end with the all-time greats because I wanted to kind of go through and shout out to a lot of the local guys, like Razor included there with the opening here with the picture of the 85-86 team there. And obviously, my opinion and probably a lot of people's opinion, the best team to ever be assembled in that old Midwestern loop as far as Sully Cups go. But, you can go all the way back to when we changed Warriors to Cullitons, back when I was 5 or 6 and you guys would have been 8 or 9. Shanker wasn't around yet, but anyways, you go back to the Frank Barth, Johnny Wilson, Ross Yancey, Danny McPherson, all those guys. Like I sat down there in that corner, where the beer gets sold now, right by where the Zamboni comes out now. But back then the Zamboni came out
at center. Yeah.
Yep. And we sat down there, and to get your hands on one of those Stratford Culliton sticks that said Cullitons at
the Louisville.
And we were neighbors with McPherson's. So Danny McPherson was one of the top scorers at the time, and we'd get sticks all the time. And I'd come home to John and Avin there, and he'd have another stick for me. Just always lucky enough to have those sticks.
Unbelievable.
Great memories, right? So there was that team that won a couple of Sullys in 77, 78. And then there was there was kind of that funneling, that tunnel of guys going to New Hampshire, University of New Hampshire.
Yeah.
You had McPherson, you had
Ross Yancey.
Did John Mavity, I think, maybe go there?
He went to Bowling Green.
He was BG. Okay.
Yeah.
But there was 3 or 4 there.
You had Paul Barton and Ken Chisholm.
Yeah, and that's what I was getting to. In the 79-80 team, you had the Barton, Chisholm, Skinner line, and then Barton and Chisholm went on New Hampshire, correct?
Yeah. And Dan Forget.
Oh, yeah.
The year before we had him on the old Armchair Chirpers, him and Barney talking about that. And then he said Barney and Chiz show up, and Barney's running. You had to get your equipment, you had to run a mile in I forget what it was, under 5 minutes or something.
Under a day.
Yeah. And Barney shows up in ripped Cowell Heating Rotary Y jersey, and all the guys are looking at him. And just, if you know Paul Barton, he's an absolute legend.
He's a beauty.
Yeah. He said that he just fit right in from day one, but
and then, you go from that team, and then the 80, I think Dave Randerson, he kind of started a bit of a line to Bowling Green and ended up playing on that. He had 31 points in 83, 84 when they won the title. They won. Yeah,
he played in that team that won the Natty that year in 3 or 4 overtimes.
3 or 4. Yeah, and he was a big contributor. He had over 30 points, and 30 points in a college season back then was
a big year.
Was New York Islanders draft pick.
Yeah. So, and then, you fast forward as far as BG goes, and like we talked, Razor Dennis Williams goes there from 97 to 01, and now he's back there after spending a lot of time coaching in the major junior ranks. He's back coaching Bowling Green. I think he's got him into the top 20 now, late in the year here.
Yeah,
so,
they were ranked 19th, I think, at one time there this year, and they haven't been ranked nationally in a long time.
And he's got the Hodson kid, our buddy Johnny. He's got Tyler there, and he's having a real good year.
They got swept by Michigan Tech there last weekend.
They did lose a couple tough ones to Tech. I did see that, Shanker.
Yeah. And Ty Higgins.
Ty Higgins out of Shakespeare area, Higgy's boy. So just there's a couple schools that are just good, that have been real good to Stratford, and we all know nowadays, we don't need to get into it, but we know nowadays it's not as easy for the Canadian kids to get the U.S. scholarships out of the Western, out of the G. But back then, like you said, Razor, you had 10 or 12 off that one team that just looking at those guys, like Emerson went to Bowling Green.
Matt Merton, the other goalie, he went to Providence. Steve Sheffley, he went to Boston College. Scott Rex went to Ohio State. Pat Murray went to Michigan State. Jeff St. Cyr went to, he was Northern Michigan. There's Rexy, or Kevin Dahl, was on the other side. Kevin Dahl went to Bowling Green. Scott Rex went to Ohio State. Then Heafy went to Michigan State. Mark Potvin went to Bowling Green. And that's all off of one team.
And then you had a couple years later, guys my age, like Ricky Mullins went to Bowling Green, and Smolinski went to Michigan State.
Yes. Smolinski went to Michigan State.
Yeah, he went to State, Michigan State. Yeah, those schools, like all those schools in this part of the U.S. just kept grabbing kids out of Stratford. That's just what we were back then, right?
This was pipeline. Stratford was a pipeline. Like every Friday night at the Almond, you had 8 or 10 scouts from NCAA and the NHL. Like it was crazy. The guys you'd look up and you'd see Bobby Clark and Lou Nanny and like all these guys.
It was like that in the 90s too, into the early 2000s. Right. And then it kind of died off there.
Well, I think the U.S. started focusing on giving rides to their own kids first off, and with the emergence of the OJ and the kind of the delusion a bit of the talent in the Midwestern and the whole GOHL as it was Junior B back then, that combination. Now all of a sudden you only got 1 or 2 kids maybe getting a D1 ride, right?
Yeah, because you couldn't get a standing room. You couldn't stand at that far back end because it was full of scouts and whoever else.
Imagine if there was a licensed, if the rink was licensed back then.
Oh, geez.
Still be worth. The organization would still be worth a couple $100,000. Easy. Yeah. Anyway. Early 90s, you got guys a little bit younger than you guys, Halls and Razor, but more my age. Like you had Chris Brooks and Mike Chambers. Mervin played with them, and they put up ridiculous amounts of points back when it was high scoring, right? Ronnie White, Jamie Hartnett, guys like that around that age in the early 90s. Greg DeVries.
Eric Anderson.
Blair
Clarence.
Yeah, he more mid-90s, and then you had Colin Schmidt and Dennis Williams.
Schmitty,
names. And then you get into the mid-twos when they won back-to-back in 3 and 4 before Listowel went to the Sully in 5. You had Jesse Cole, Kyle Casey, kids like that had real good years in Stratford, ended up going to some D3 schools and winning an Addy in a D3 school down there.
Yeah, and Dennis Williams was the coach there. Yes, he was early in his career at Newman College in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, Newman College. And the boys used to do, I worked with Kyle's mom at the time, and she used to say the boys did security at the Eagles games. Got to go to the
unbelievable.
Yeah, so good times. And then as far as the all-time greats go, we all know who they are. Like like you said, we were just a pipeline to that next level, but you knew these guys were going, starting with Eddie Olchuk in the early 80s, right? 82, 83. Like we knew he was going. He played in the Olympics in 84 for crying out loud as a 19-year-old, I think. And then, you got Emerson and Potvin and Pronger and DeVries. You can go on, right? Just so many all-time greats that came through the rank. And it's funny, I'll tell you a story. Last year doing the 50-50 there, Marty McSorley had a nephew playing for London for the Nationals, and he came up to the couple times at the table, bought tickets, and he came up later on, and he said, you guys had so many all-time like great guys come through here, but
Yeah.
I walk around this whole rink through this whole lobby. I see none of them.
None of them.
He says, you guys, I said, well, in to defend the organization, they really do push the local hockey and the local kids and what the local guys have done, right? And, you know, even Tim, I'm sure there's stuff with Tim up in the lobby, he being, you know, our most recent prominent guy to play in the pros.
Yeah.
You got McCann in Seattle now doing a real good job there too. But, you know, and he had a good point, and I've never brought it up at the board or anything. But that is a good point. Like where should have an area maybe that honors these guys, the talent that
100%
come through here, right?
100%. Like,
crazy.
You know, and not to deter, but we used to have all the pictures of all the guys that had gone on, and not to, you know, take anything away from the guys that didn't make the NHL, because there was a lot of great hockey players that didn't get a chance in the NHL. Like, you know, Sean Heafy and Pat Murray were both drafted to the NHL, but neither one of them played an actual regular season NHL game. But the guys that played in the NHL, they used to have pictures of them around the wall in the dressing room.
Yeah.
And when they did renovations, they took them down. And it still blows my mind that, you know, we don't have, and this isn't a knock to the organization, because it's a different group of people from the 80s, 90s to today. And, but, you know, it would not hurt you selling parents and players to come to Stratford when they see, you know, all these guys, Rob Blake, Chris Pronger, you know, Ed Olchuk, all of these names, you know, some of them are first ballot Hall of Famers, and Blake and Pronger, right? And people don't even realize that they played here.
Yeah.
And
that's a good way to put it, Razor. They don't realize they played here.
Exactly.
All you have to do is put a banner, 2 banners up in the rafters, like the Kitchener Rangers have. They have all their players that made the NHL or were long-time great players. That's all you have to do. Put their name on a banner.
Well, one step further, Shanker. One step further. Take one of those little corner trophy sections in the lobby.
Yeah.
And just put a little picture with a write-up of each one if you wanted to. You know, just
like they do have that little area. I haven't worked there for a couple of years, but they had the locals like Tim Taylor and Craig Hartsburg and all of the guys, local boys that had made a good, Joey Hishin. I worked at the Almond for 30 years, and I would, you know, catch fathers looking at where they used to have year after year of all the different teams, and people would be able to pick out guys, the Prongers, the Blakes, the Olchucks. And that's just from team photos. Can you imagine if you had individual pictures of them in their NHL jerseys, you know, around the Almond as well? And I just think that they're missing a chance to promote their brand, their history, by not having year after year of the teams and the guys that have gone on to ultimately the show.
And it's another tool to show off just how good of an organization it is.
100%. They were that well known throughout Ontario that they just had a name, and that was a lot to do with Denny and Joan Flanagan being able to bring in high quality people to get the name on the map.
Yeah, you can't talk about any of these guys, I guess, without giving the shout out and the kudos to the Flanagan family for what they did for all of us. Like and Digger, who was the backup goalie for a couple of years, late 70s, early 80s, he coached me in Adam hockey. Great guy, great coach, was excellent with us as we were 10-year-olds. But, just shout out to them too. And the last thing I want to mention too, before I turn it over to you guys, you know, Razor, we talked about the kind of the personal side of it with the after the games and that when we got to around that age and kind of working your way down Downey Street, right? You'd see the truck, carloads of Pat and Heafy and all them getting out at the Kent and going in and seeing the old guys sleeping by the pool table. And if we ever get kicked out of there or finish up there, you go down to the DH to the south there or over to Jesse's or Wild Rose or whatever it was at the time.
They're great times.
You don't see that anymore. These kids get done playing, and if they're not having a protein shake and a workout session, they're at home on their screens or they're whatever they're doing, right? Like that's what we did back. That was the funnest part of it all back then, right?
Well, did you guys happen to see they were interviewing Sabres defenseman Rasmus Dahlin, and the one reporter said to him, "What do you attribute the change in, the Sabres' success. And he said it half jokingly, but half serious. And he said, drinking beers. He said, what we've done now after games is we make it mandatory for guys. Not that you have to drink, because some guys don't drink, but he said, you have to come out. And he said, there's nothing like having a beer with your fellow teammates, learning about their families, learning getting below surface level stuff that you don't know about a guy, learning what makes every teammate tick so that you can help a guy if he's struggling, either at home or on the ice. And that is what has changed. There's a whole lot of other things that have gone
but
on.
that helps.
Exactly.
That helps the whole chemistry and everything come together, right?
And I read a thing that was interesting, and the guy remained anonymous, but they asked an NHL vet, and he said when he broke into the league in the late 90s, early 2000s, he said when you would go on the road, that's where you really bonded with guys. You're away from, your wife and your kids, and you don't have any responsibilities other than to play hockey. And he said after dinner, they would all sit there and they would just chat, like the whole team. Yeah. And that's what Florida did on their past 2 years on their cup run. They would go out for dinners. Everyone would go out for dinners, not these little pockets of 3 or 4 guys in a pocket. Yeah. And they said that what happens now is after dinner's over, guys don't want to sit around and talk. They want to go back to the room and game. And they put on their headsets and they game. And he said it's like night and day. And he goes, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but the psyche and the mindset is totally different from what it was years ago.
You want guys doing what they feel comfortable doing, but that,
for sure,
what that is nowadays is a lot different from the time period we just talked about, right? Because 2/3 of the team would be down at the KTEL or down the street at the DH.
Yes.
The other way at Rumors or whatever, right? And everybody's together doing that, building that team kind of thing. And that's just, that's what sport's all about, in my opinion. It's just awesome to see, right? And that
team that you've got behind you, Graffer, and me, that was the tightest team. Now, I'm not even talking about the talent level, but
just
the tightness of that team. Like you could pick up the phone, and now we didn't have cell phones back then, but you could pick up a phone and call any one of those guys, and they would help you. They would bail you out. The veterans made the rookies feel like they were is equal. Everybody felt equal on that team, and that's a unique thing. And that all started with our captain, Walt Morris, and our assistants.
Local boy. Speaking of another local guy, there you go.
Walt Morris there. You can see him there in the middle between TU and Dennis Jr.
TU and Dennis.
Yeah.
TU looks a little younger back then than when we see him now coming into the rink, but still looks good. Nope.
He was a beauty. He was a beauty. He had my back. He was on Dennis to get me into the room. I was the last guy to make the team that year.
Who would have made it if you didn't?
A guy out of Culliton. He was a good goalie as well. Steve.
Roy. Was it Roy?
No. I forget his name.
Roy lost out. Roy's a Clinton kid too, but he lost out to Hill a few years later for the backup. Jeff got it.
Yeah. What it boiled down to is they thought we were both equal. This guy was 18, I was 16, and they thought, okay, I'm going to be around a lot longer. Yeah. I'm local, so I'm going to put bums in the seats, and they didn't have to pay for a billet. So there was those 3 things going on.
Because let's be clear, local didn't matter a whole lot back then.
Right. Right.
But if it meant saving a border or put a few more bums in the seats, then perfect. Right.
Exactly.
Hey, what about the time? One more thing here, and I don't even know if this is true, but I've heard it from more than one guy. Paul Fulton, sitting on that old bench off to the side, ordered a pizza to the bench one game or something.
Hot dog.
Was it a hot dog? Speaking of locals doing great things, eh?
Yeah, local legend. Yeah.
Anyways, I digress.
Good stuff. So
yeah, great. Hey, great. And I'm pumped. I'm starting to get into it a bit. I'm pumped to see how Stratford and St. Mary's can do here. So
yeah, both teams are got their hands full, but we got the fingers crossed, and we hope that we can set up a second, or wouldn't it even be better
if they could upset Child and Elmira? They could get through and upset. Oh, how good would that be? Anyways,
that would be great.
Don't get too far ahead of ourselves.
Exactly. All right, Graffer. Appreciate you coming on. We look forward to you next week, and Go Lincolns, go
Go
Warriors.
Lincolns, go Warriors. Thanks, fellas. Take care.
All right.
See you,
Dave
Graffer.
Graff for
See you
Chew
guys.
on That. Make sure you go down to work and see 40 and the boys while you're watching all your sports. So we'll hear from our sponsors, and then we'll be back for some final thoughts.
Railside Organics, Stratford's first and only Indigenous owned and operated organic dispensary, located at 29 Monteith Avenue, serving those in need with holistic remedies. Come say hi to Curly and his staff and see why everyone is recommending Railside Organics. End Zone and Fantasy, brought to you by TNT Security Inc., where security meets reliability. Call Todd Schmidt today for a security quote on your concert, dance, sporting, and alcohol event, business, property, or mobile patrol security. Call Bick Heating and Cooling for all your heating, cooling, and plumbing needs. Proud Rude Pro partner. BickHeatCool.com or 226-921-4848. Your home team specialists, taking care of Stratford and area since 2013. Vredeveld Painting, servicing Stratford and surrounding area, with over 20 years of experience to help you with all your painting and decorating needs, on time and on budget. Eisen Canada Inc. is a trusted automotive parts manufacturer located in Stratford, Ontario. As part of the global Eisen Group, the company produces precision components like door frames, sunroofs, touch sensor systems, and power back doors. Supplying leading automakers such as Toyota and Lexus, Eisen Canada is committed to quality, innovation, and excellence in manufacturing.
All right. Thanks to all of our sponsors, as always. Final thoughts, Schenker. Let's start with you.
I'm going to give a shout out here to the OEHL, the former WOAA. 2 series are going to 7 games, Durham and Ripley. And then our local Tavistock Royals and Seaforth Centenaires are going to game 7 Tuesday night, 9 o'clock in Seaforth. Tavistock had a big 3-1 win last night to force that game 7 after losing 6-2 Friday. So, yeah, Tuesday night is for all the marbles.
Halzer?
I want to give a shout out to the Venezuelan team who pulled off the major upset last night against Japan on the big blast by Willier Abreu, a 3-run bomb to put them up 7-5. And then their pitching salted away, kept getting guys out. And you just got to be happy with a group. I just love watching the Latino players play baseball. They play it with such joy and fervor and excitement. It's going to be a fantastic game. The most unlikely semifinal, Venezuela and Italy.
Yeah.
While everybody's watching at 8 o'clock tonight, watching the big DR versus US game, watching them, club the crap out of each other. It's just a joy to watch 2 teams like that go and play. And, on top of that, Venezuela now qualifies for the 2028 Olympics in Los Angeles as baseball makes it return to the Olympics. So just a huge win for their country, especially on U.S. soil after what's going on politically there. I think it's just fantastic for their program and the guys on there. And, of course, one of my favorite all-time players, Salvador Perez, who's been around with the Kansas City Royals for, I think, about 37 seasons now. It just seems that way. So it was so much fun to watch that game after I got home from Strathroy last night. Just beauty to watch. Good for them.
Well, look at their coaching staff. They have Pujols and Miggy as their 2 main coaches. So
everybody loves Miggy. You couldn't watch Miggy, even if you're not a Tigers fan, you couldn't watch Miggy and not like him as a player. Same thing with Perez. So like I say, and then that Daniel Palencia, who throws absolute gas, closer for the Cubs, comes in last night, locks it down 1-2-3, including getting Ohtani on a strikeout on a fastball at the knees on the outside. So it was just a joy to watch them play baseball, as it always is.
And Italy too. What a surprise there with Italy, like Vinny Pasqualino and Aaron Nola.
Well, Italy, let's face it, it's just like half the teams from New Jersey, it seems like, to be honest. The Venezuelans are all Venezuelan. You know what I mean? And Italy, I'm happy for them too. But at the end of the day, half of that team is American anyways. I mean, Let's face it. Aaron Nola is pitching for the Italians.
Yeah.
So.
All right. Well, that's going to be great to watch them tonight. The winners advance to the finals in Miami on the 17th.
I think so.
So that's going to be exciting. Okay. For Ian Shank and Brian Hawley, I'm Gary Ray. You've been watching episode 24 of the Unmuzzled Sports Podcast.